The screen is frozen. So
Great.
there we go. Okay. So weird. One second, let me share my screen. Jeez Louise. And it's just a reminder for everybody, we're looking at section 12. And I believe the specific language in our rule filing was updating section 12 to include specific requirements regarding rejected applications.
And that's if the board wants to change this section. We've just had a couple of cases in the last few months that folks were engaged in unprofessional conduct while they either were applying or even immediately before they applied for licensure. And this covers it. I mean, it covers those situations. But I wasn't sure if the board wanted to be more specific or not.
Have we run into a problem because it's not that specific?
That's a good question, Karen. I don't think so. I just was trying to cover all my bases at the time when I first encountered it.
And you're saying it covers in a broad spectrum.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think the broadness of it is good. I mean, I don't really think the board should go any more specific. I just was kind of opening it up to folks.
Looks like Dr. Fuchs has a comment. Are we okay to?
Yes, go ahead.
You should be able to unmute, Dr. Fuchs.
I did. Thank you. My question is under number 12, under what profession are they having unprofessional conduct if they haven't applied for a profession yet? And people do all sorts of things in their private lives, and someone else might call it unprofessional, but if they aren't under a profession, again, what's the unprofessional conduct? That's my comment. Thank you.
Any changes? Are we all feeling okay with this?
And the board doesn't need to take action at all, so we can just keep on moving and close out the public hearing.
So, and I do think the definition of unprofessional conduct actually applies to whatever profession they're applying for. That's within the definition itself. So Dr. Fuchs had a good point, but I think Oregon's definition covers it.
Okay. I'm not seeing any changes, so unless someone objects, I'm going to close rulemaking on 811-010-0085.
Short and sweet. Perfect. Thanks.
And we will open rulemaking for OAR 811-015-0031. Creation of a new rule for clarifying animal chiropractic.
Actually, before we get into the details of this, I want to touch back on what Vern had provided or stated today in his update with their requesting or want us to look at different requirements for the animal chiropractic. I think he said, if I have my notes right, that his proposal would be if DC's had board certification by American or National Veterinary Chiropractic Association, and then would allow to treat without referral from a veterinarian, that actually would require legislative change. So OCA can pursue those changes all they want, and we could, if we wanted to, do a legislative concept on that next session or so. But that he's referring to, that would require a legislative change rather than a rule change. Just wanted to let the board know. Because right now the statute requires referral from a veterinarian for the practice of animal chiropractic.
So you'll see in this drafted version that we had decided between 0030 and 0045. So the number that was available, 0031. So that's how it's been drafted and sent to OARD. And this is what was decided on in our last meeting, this draft.
I think it looks good.
Anybody have changes?
Cass, do we need commas after use of X-ray, comma, performing surgery, comma? Or
Yes,
no?
we do. Yeah, I would. Thank you.
Okay. It's almost like we've been working together for a while.
So do you
Series-
need a motion to accept?
Yes, ma'am.
Yep.
So I move that we accept OAR 811-0150031 as written.
Second.
That's second. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All right, Seth,
Aye.
Karen,
Aye.
Scott,
Aye.
Corey,
Aye.
Lori,
Aye.
and Micah.
Aye.
And I for myself, motion carries. I almost forgot myself. That closes rulemaking on 811-015-0031.
Perfect.
Okie dokie. So we will go back up, yes, to the UWS update. It was included in the public packet. Everybody get a chance to read it. And we can go on, yeah?
Yep.
Okay. So now we have PMP subcommittee update. So we need to vote to adopt the policies, yeah?
That's right.
I'm pulling those
gonna-
up so we can.
I'm gonna stay out of
start
this
with the first-
discussion.
Okay.
What, Seth?
So I'm gonna stay out of this discussion because this is I feel I'm biased or something.
Well, yes,
Okay.
but you
If
could
you have
also provide
questions for me,
input.
if you have questions for me, I will answer them. But it's my baby. We're an elite team.
Well, we've had a little bit of changeover in membership, but not too much actually. And we've been meeting for more than a year. So we're on our 15th month or so. We had a little bit of a break earlier this year, but I mean, this is a dedicated group. It's really quite fun.
Awesome. All right. Diagnostic procedures.
So this came about from all the different diagnostic tests that were referenced in the original PMP. And we thought as a group that they should just be all brought into one in a general policy rather than actually kind of pulling out all the specific ones and having to add to the list all the time. So this is the general.
when I reviewed it, I thought it looked really well written and good. And obviously I'm not a DC, but the little bit of, it sounded like it was all within the scope. And so I didn't have any issues with it as a public member.
I had a quick question, and this may be more semantics. At the FCLB, they talked a little bit about college versus university and the definition of that. Do you remember that, Karen?
I do not.
Okay. One of the speakers talked about chiropractic moving forward as being associated more with university learning rather than colleges. And so in this, it says chiropractic colleges. I just wondered if that mattered.
Where are you? I'm sorry, I'm trying to find where you are. Oh, that's actually in statute. So that's what we're citing
Okay.
there.
Okay.
So we're stuck
we're
with
good
it
there.
for now. Hmm.
Okay.
Okay, well, I am going to make a motion to adopt this policy for diagnostic procedures.
Second.
Scott seconds. So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seth, are you voting?
I
You
am
should-
voting and I will give a robust aye.
All right. Karen,
Aye.
Scott,
I
Corey,
Aye.
Lori,
Aye.
Micah,
I
I for myself, motion carries.
Just give me a second to pull the other one up.
EMDR. Anybody have comments, questions, changes on this one?
I thought it was really
Chiropractors?
well written and I could follow it. Lori again.
Good job.
just so I'm understanding, chiropractors are using this practice as well in the scope of, at least in their scope.
No, it's not allowed in their scope. That's the policy.
I see. Understood. I was wondering.
They are using it, they shouldn't be.
Right.
All right. I will make a motion to adopt the EMDR policy.
Second, this is Lori.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seth,
Aye.
Karen,
Aye.
Scott,
I
Corey,
Aye.
Lori,
Aye.
Micah,
I
I for myself, motion carries. All righty, immediate release technique and rapid eye technique.
Lori, I had the same comment. I could actually follow it and understand it.
You don't know how happy this makes me to hear this.
I know. You did a really good job, Seth. You should be proud.
Even actually, the conversation around it was pretty phenomenal, actually. So, and it was Seth. So these
was
are
it?
his babies. Hmm.
Yeah.
These two remind the other one. I won't name who it was, but she did an excellent job. I don't want to put names out there, but these two were mine. So I'm so pleased, so pleased to hear that they're user friendly.
Yeah. Yep. Even Joe Public can, such as me, can understand it. Yay.
Any comments, questions, changes? Well, I'll just stick with it and make a motion to adopt the IRT and rapid eye technique policy.
I'll second, Lori.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seth,
Aye.
Karen,
Aye.
Scott,
Aye.
Corey,
Aye.
Lori,
Aye.
Micah,
Aye.
and an aye for myself. Motion carries.
Woohoo!
Good job, Seth. How many more do you guys have?
300.
300.
No. It's kind of an ongoing process.
Okay. What time is it? All right. Administrative rules review and discussion.
So this section, board members, part of our work plan that we created during our board retreat last January was to review and revise rules to include more inclusive language if necessary. And so that's what we brought these forward for, whether we need to make changes to them or not. The question before you right now, though, is do we want to do this in this meeting since we are almost halfway through and we haven't gotten to exec yet? Or do we want to put it for our September meeting when we have 2 days to review them? And I would kindly make a motion to move these to September, where I'm not moving
Yes.
anything, but
And as the person who put these together, in the sense that there actually is not very much to change in these rules, and I think there's only like half of them that need changes, and they're very minor. So if that helps us make a decision one way or the other, just so you know.
I think I'd still like to push it to September if everyone's okay with that.
Yeah, I'd second that.
Okay. Okay, so discussion and action items. CHRI access and dissemination policy.
this is just for board ratification.
So we just need to vote on this.
Mm.
What was this for again? I don't remember.
This
Is
is
this
for, this is a CGIS requirement, actually,
Okay.
internal agency requirement, yeah.
So is it a new policy?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not being amended. Okay.
Nope.
Yep. So I move that we adopt the policy labeled criminal history record information as written.
Second.
Who was that?
Seth,
Seth. Thank you.
we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Alrighty, Seth,
Aye.
Karen,
Aye.
Scott,
Aye.
Corey,
Aye.
Lori,
Aye.
Micah,
Aye.
and an aye for myself. Motion carries. We have an intro to the board meeting, huh?
Yes. So, what date do you guys want? November 13th or 14th? Looking at my calendar, November 13th. So a reminder, our board meeting is November, when is our, November 21st. So, a week before, right after Veterans Day, either the 13th or the 14th. And usually we have them from 7 to, or I'm sorry, from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. virtual.
So I think I'm set to help at this one because somebody took my took the spot I was supposed to have in spring so that I could do another board thing. So selfishly, I would prefer the 14th, but I couldn't, it's enough notice that I could make the 13th work.
I'm able to do either.
Are you
How many do you
looking,
need?
yeah, how many do you need? Or do you need us all?
No, I would rather you not have you all, so I didn't have to worry about quorum. So sit down, Lori, you're fine.
I will tell Micah my scripted things I say every time. Pass the torch.
So yeah, MJ, if you want to attend, and Karen, if you want to attend, I think that's fine with 2. Michelle, if you want to attend too, I mean 3 is kind of pushing it. But
I anticipate being at part 4 boards the weekend before, so I'd rather not.
okay, yeah, we'll just leave it to Karen and MJ then. They'll do a great
I'll
job.
take
Oh, you're right. Yeah. What weekend is part 4, Michelle? Because I think I'm doing one of them too.
9th and 10th.
It's the 9th and 10th. Okay. Yeah. Then 14th would be better.
But Karen
All right.
and Micah on the 14th.
Perfect.
Do you prefer MJ?
My friends and family refer to me as MJ's. So it's okay either way. Micah and MJ is fine. Whatever you like.
Professional for the public session, so.
Micah's fine for a public session, but on our own time.
Okay. Okay, so we have the affirmative action DEI strategic plan.
Yeah, so all you're looking at, you've already seen this planned for 23-25 because we just finalized it last meeting, and this is just adding the new dates for 25-27 since we have overlapping time right now. So all it is just adding the new dates for 25-27.
All right. And we're adopting.
Yes.
I will make a motion to adopt this document as written.
Micah, do you have something to say?
I just had a question about the 13th, 14th date that we were choosing for the 14th. Will I get additional details on where I need to be, or if this is just virtual
It's
before
totally
then?
just virtual. Yeah.
Okay, and then
Yep.
I'll receive an email where to join and such.
Yeah. Yeah, you'll
Okay.
actually get our PowerPoint presentation ahead of time, so you can prepare kind of what you want to say or review the materials and if they're accurate or not. So you'll get everything ahead of time.
Okay, that sounds good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Was the 14th the date you all decided on that, on the same topic?
Yep.
If you need a alternate or whatever, I'll jump in if somebody can't make it.
Okay. Thanks, Seth. So long as you bring all your dogs, that's all.
Bring my crew.
Mrs. Lori,
Like-
I will second Michelle's motion.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lori.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All right, we will vote. Seth?
Aye.
Karen?
Hi.
Scott? Corey?
Aye.
Lori?
Aye.
Micah?
Aye.
And I for myself, motion carries. All right, board retreat and work plan priorities review.
Yeah, so this document should look familiar. This is actually what we worked on as focus areas, priority areas during our January retreat. And it was pretty much an update. I wanted to make sure that we weren't just doing these work plans and just letting them sit for 2 years. So what we didn't do in January's meeting, though, that I had an oversight, is that we didn't separate out into individual groups to come up with what the short-term, long-term goals were for each topic. So we just kind of talked about the topics as a whole, and then we didn't really get into what those outcomes look like. I don't think necessarily we have time today to really get into the nitty-gritty of those. If you want me to bring them back to September's meeting, I can, or we can talk about, a January kind of virtual retreat that we can have. But I wanted to bring it to the board to update you, but also really we've made a lot of progress on a lot of the issues that were before us. And the most pressing one from what I remember of that retreat was our case backlog. And we have done tremendous work on getting out from under that backlog. And so I want to thank our investigators and our team for really kicking it into action on that. Everything else is workable as well, but I just wanted to give it the board an update.
Yeah, I don't think we have time to work on this today.
No.
This is one of those things that I wonder if maybe it would be possible to meet in person for like one day or something. These are hard conversations to have virtually. So
Yeah.
I don't know if maybe that's something we can look at doing. And no, sorry to everybody else, like half the board lives in Portland, so maybe that would cut down on costs too. So I don't know, something to think about.
Yeah, I would love to. The board retreat meetings should be in person, and we generally have them every odd numbered year right before session. With our budget the way it is right now, it's really kind of up in the air, frankly. So let's just hold off on setting a date for I mean, we'll come back with January dates in September, but as far as in person, let's just hold off and see. And potentially, you know, we could have an in-person meeting, maybe even later in the year, depending on what the legislature does with our budget and what it looks like. So it is retreat topic worthy for sure. So we'll keep it in mind to do an in-person maybe once a year, even if we are just majority virtual.
Well, and I'll throw it out there too. If it is in the Portland area, you know, I don't need a hotel, and I have a room somebody could stay in too, you know, to just keep costs down. So,
Yeah, same.
you know, there's options.
Okay. Thanks, Karen.
If you want it also, if you come to Portland, you need somewhere to have it. There is in the building where my practice is, there's like a conference room that we can reserve. I can reach out to my landlord and see about it. If it's a possibility, but you may need something more public that has more, I don't know what facilities, I don't know what, but
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I mean, I think we all feel more productive in Hawaii, but you know.
For sure.
Well, I'm going next Friday, so I'll scope out spots.
Nice, good. Austerity measures be damned.
Have
Have a jet right now.
Thanks.
Okay. So what else can we get done?
So we have the correspondence with regard to the OCA, or I'm sorry, the study guide. We have the study guide that is still needing photos and different topics in that document. The photos are still being worked on. Training log and syllabus kind of naturally follow when we get the study guide finalized, and then also the NBCE exam update. So I guess where are we, Craig, or whoever was working on the photos? Give me a photo status.
Well, and actually, can I hop in really fast, Cass,
Yeah.
before we move to that? So one of the reasons the CAA study guide is on the agenda this month is because we knew it wouldn't be done by the meeting, but what we wanted to do was to get board permission, even if that means we rework some parts of it that have been mentioned or not. We wanted to get board permission basically for the small group that is working on like the photos and kind of some other like minor changes, like creating just like the title and the page, you know, like page numbers and all the other like admin stuff that has to happen. We wanted to get board approval for once that stuff is done to move forward with NBCE to update the exam and then to release the study guide so it doesn't have to come back to the board. Of course, that's up to your discretion, but that's one of the reasons that it's showing up today.
So as far as the pictures go, Karen and I both have a list, and I think Craig had a few on his, and so I'm about halfway done with my list.
Yeah, I'm
Sure.
working through mine. It's been a challenge.
Yeah.
I
Well,
tried to,
and
go ahead, Cass.
what I was going to say, and if you're having difficulty, I mean, if you're having difficulty finding photos because things are old modalities or old DME or whatever the situation may be, then that's really a strong indicator that we don't need the photo about it. So, you know, I wouldn't stress too hard about getting photos. It's really, right now for us, at least on the admin side, we're really wanting to just finalize the text of it. And as long as we have the text and the content, and then we can move forward with NBCE.
And I tried to go to UWS to get photos, but you have to check in and they're not letting you back into that area. I did make a proposal that I could have somebody take pictures, but after discussion, it was kind of, well, we don't feel comfortable doing that because we may run into copyright or, hey, why'd you take the picture or whatever. And we just kind of want to be cautious of certain things.
I thought we volunteered Seth to be the model at his office. I specifically remember him agreeing to that.
Only if Pippa gets to be in the picture too.
But in regards to Mackenzie's request, I have no issues with the draft going to the NBC folks without having to go through us, if I was understanding her request correctly.
But the request was just that the board would give us discretion once those changes have been made that we were just talking about, that we could then send that draft information / kind of finalize technically off to NBCE, make those exam changes, and then put this out to the profession.
I have no problems with that request.
Yeah, me either. It'd be nice to get this taken care of and wrapped up.
Cass, do we need a motion for that, or just need to wave our wand and grant permission?
No, I don't think a motion is necessary. The only other question that I would have is, because the OCA has brought up the definition of physio so often, do we want to look at that?
Yeah, let's look at that. Okay, let's try to
Um,
by noon, guys.
I'm gonna pull this up, but if someone has like a specific spot that they see where the CA guide identifies physiotherapy first, or the definition of it first in the document, that would be great, because then we can earmark that as kind of the change section and then go back through and change it as needed. So let me know if you know.
Okay, so it's section 12 labeled physiotherapy.
Okay, give me 1 second. You guys might want to not look at the screen while I scroll. Okay, this is gonna.
Oh.
I know, I'm sorry. Should have not shared my screen, but I committed already. Oh, too far. That's not what you want. Okay, here we go.
Okay.
Now, I mean, to keep in mind the context of this is the study guide for CAs to use to take the initial exam, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so OCA's official letter recommendation was in this first paragraph, which is just a sentence, to say physiotherapy is used to refer to those modalities, and then to add, don't add yet, Mackenzie, as well as hands-on procedures with soft tissue, to include fascial releases, stretches, massages, and home-based exercise programs. And to, yeah, that would be that's the end of their sentence.
Can I make a comment real quick?
Absolutely.
Just in the, I believe it's in the statutes that it says the training needs to cover electrotherapy, hydrotherapy, physiotherapy, listed out as 3 different types of therapy. And to me, this is reading that that hydro and electro would be forms of physio. So
They are.
that's all.
They
Okay.
are, yeah.
The statute is goofy.
Mm-hmm.
Do we have to have the part in there that says is used to increase the benefit of chiropractic adjustment? Why can't it just be?
To aid.
Yeah, I feel like that's just too much and too focused. I don't know.
Yeah.
So we're wanting to remove this part?
Yes.
Sharon Fuchs has her hands up.
I think
Yes.
you can unmute, Sharon.
Yes, I am on mute. Yes, I thank you for the person that said our statute said physiotherapy, electrotherapy, and hydrotherapy. It just in our history, the definition of physiotherapy has come back to bite us.
Mm-hmm.
And it was defined from a 1927 dictionary as heat, ice, and light. I mean, that was it. And that was held to us in an opinion that was adverse to us and how we were trying to expand our practice. It's not very often where we actually write words like what's the definition of physiotherapy, but when we do, and in any document that we have, believe me, someone's going to parse through it, and it can be used either to help us or to hurt us. And so in infinite number of hours that I have worked on the definition of physiotherapy, given past history of things that I have worked on, I found Dr. Budden's treatise where he referenced Dr. Sampson's book, and I obtained it. I got an interlibrary loan and got it, and it was adopted, that definition, very broad, into the last CA manual. And so to just leave this kind of nebulous, as in number 12, all over the place, it would be great to have a succinct, broad-based definition with an actual reference to it. And it's not going to hurt us. I think it would help us to do that. And that's what I have to say.
Thank you. Along the same lines, Dr. Marasco had sent in correspondence asking to include the physiotherapy definition from Merriam-Webster. So it's kind of lengthy.
Doctor, that is not a medical text. That's, things come back to bite us. Why do we accept lay definitions? We are a healing profession, an allied arts medical profession, and we worked really hard. Of interest in the history of chiropractic, in World War II, doctors of chiropractic were in the military, and they volunteered to perform physiotherapy. And, around that time, the profession of physical therapy was developing out of physiatry, which came back which started after World War I, and then developed physiatry, and then physical therapy branched off. And the chiropractors, military physicians who were in the military treating injured soldiers, were treated like garbage. They were treated terribly because their license was deemed lesser than. But they worked really hard and they served their country in tremendous ways. And having greater definition and teeth into what we can do helps us progress and in the future expand our practice. And I really think if you compare us between the naturopathic profession and the chiropractic profession, whose language and statute is very similar, we painted ourselves into a corner and they had paint remover and they just opened their ability to move forward and practice with greater tools in their toolbox. So I just strongly, strongly encourage you to think broadly, very broadly. We have a broad scope, yes, but we get paid terribly. Thank you.
This is Lori, and I guess I consider this to be really broad. And I remember sitting through the conversations with amongst the board when it was being discussed. How would you recommend it be more broad? Because it's really broad right now, which is what you want. You don't want limitations or to paint yourself in a corner, is what I guess I would think. I don't know, maybe I'm not getting it, but to me, this is really
Are you
broad.
asking me? Are you asking me?
Sure, yeah, because I remember your comment at the very beginning of the board meeting as well. And so I'm like, it's
Yes.
really broad.
Well, but it's not authoritative. I am all about authority and about citations. And so I went and just piled through, went to the archives, did everything I could, looked at the history of physiotherapy, how it even came into our scope of practice in 1927 or 1928. When we actually had our licensure in 1915, they worked really hard to get this in to our scope of practice. And so I went to the authorities, and Dr. Sampson is the authority. It's an authoritative text. He was a physician at Walter Reed. Dr. Budden thought so highly of it that he referenced him in his own text on physiotherapy. So I'm looking for a citation, not just generality. And it's very broad. I mean, just go back and take a look at it. I don't have it right in front of me, but it's incredibly broad. And it doesn't paint us into a box, and it's authoritative, and it's something you can put in the bibliography at the end. And when someone decides they're going to come back and bite us, we can point to that.
Well,
That's Dr. Budden's text in, what was that, 1932 or something.
and I guess I'm just
1928.
playing devil's advocate here. This is Lori again, the devil. But isn't OBCE the authority in this? And we don't have to cite, it's our creation, so we are the authority. We are telling you, hey, physiotherapy to us, the board, means this, and it's pretty darn broad. That, I guess that's kind of,
I'm sorry, that sounds like the current Supreme Court. We have, it's kind of settled law, so to speak. We have authoritative texts that have been in existence for decades. Why do we have to have other language? It's, the use of physical remedies in the treatment of disease or disability. I mean, that is positive therapy, applied physics. It's open, it's broad, it's authoritative, it's something you can put in the bibliography. And then as you parse it through, someone comes to you and says, is this in our scope? Well, then you can look at it and look at the big picture and try and figure that all out. But what happened was somebody went to a dictionary in 1927 and decided it was heat, light, and cold, and that was it. And we know that that's wrong. So,
Well, in defense of the appellate court of the Oregon, that's actually kind of a reasonable thing to do. I mean, outside of the chiropractic world, that's how they do statutory interpretation, is to look at the lay meaning of words. And so that's what happened in that case. So it was up to defense counsel and whoever else was filing briefs in that case to change that definition for the court, and the court adopted their own definition. So I understand, Sharon, that you want us to include a definition of our own, and this definition looks fine to me, but it's up to the board if they want to adopt this one from 1930 or some odd, or if they want to go for a more modern version that says the same thing. I mean, it's up to the board.
Well, in that case, if they adopted the 1927 definition, then is that what you're saying? Is that all we can do is heat, light, and cold? That's it?
No, no.
Exactly.
So-
Exactly my point. Hang on a second. Sorry, buzzer's going on.
So people on the other side from OCA and that kind of stuff feel like our definition as it stands right now is pigeonholing us only into therapeutic modalities and excluding CAs from doing any kind of soft tissue work. So to me, that's where we need to maybe finesse this definition.
Mackenzie, will you do me a favor and just include either as a separate paragraph or something in the document, the use of physical remedies, whatever that definition was, so we can have them side by side and then we can see how to modify them and even do the same thing
from the definition from Budden or somebody else.
from Budden and from Merriam-Webster, whatever Morosco was saying.
I can read that one to you, Mackenzie, when you're ready, because I have it up.
Thank you. Okay, so we'll do this.
Yeah, thank you.
While Mackenzie's typing, I hate to be a cheater, but are there any other states that have guides that have anywhere close to what we have for scope that we could use as a basis of like modern current terminology?
I don't know, Seth.
I thought I remembered us trying to figure something out like that with a power pole and nobody had anything.
Yeah. I mean,
So we
you're
were-
asking a question of a state that usually leads everybody. And so whatever we
know.
come up with is what other folks are going to
Other
follow
states
with.
will look- yeah.
Oh, you found it, Mackenzie. You can just copy and paste.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm gonna do. Save you from reading it out loud.
Yeah.
Okay, I think this is the one, but just go ahead and confirm.
No, it's in that long.
The
That's
long
our.
paragraph.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's our definition now.
Okay, hold on. Oh, I see. I got it.
I mean, it's really not a bad definition.
And then do you want the other one?
Yes, please.
That's the definition from Merriam-Webster.
Yes.
Okay. The one I'm looking at that is from Budden says, I think this is the one that says to use the use of physical remedies in the treatment of disease.
Yeah.
Is that the one?
Mm-hmm.
It's Dr. Sampson.
What does it say at the end? I think that page got cut off on my end. Remedies in the treatment of disease.
You had it up just a minute ago. It's like 2 sentences and it's Dr. Sampson. It's just referenced in Dr. Budden's book.
Okay. Well, on my end, I cannot see it, so I'm wondering if someone else
Oh.
can.
We don't have
Let's see.
it.
Hold on one second. I found it. We're good. Here we go.
Like me to read it?
I think we've got it. right here on the shared screen.
Positive therapy, applied physics, the use of physical remedies in the treatment of disease or disability. Great.
I think that's going to be really confusing to a CA.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and that's why the rest of the book explains it. Someday will you have an advanced license in physical therapy or physiotherapy for CAs?
I mean, I can't say for certain, but not that I foresee at the moment.
I'm not opposed to the Merriam-Webster definition. I think that's pretty all-inclusive, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is
And
it
I-
also, does it also paint us into a corner that that's all we can use? What if something new comes in the future?
I mean, why couldn't we just say physiotherapy is used to, I mean, as defined, it maybe is defined and not limited to this definition.
I
That's
don't know
helpful.
what else somebody would come up with that doesn't fit into this.
I know, but no, that's the problem is that in 1928, they didn't envision other things either, you know, and so then we went back and got boxed into that language so I'm just looking to the future and seeing how we have become so narrow and others have gone so far.
But this is just to educate folks that are wanting to become CAs.
Yes, I
And
understand.
so it kind of has to be in lay person language so they can
Yeah.
understand.
Right, I understand that, but what I'm saying is that we don't write these terms very often in our documents. And so I'm just saying that in every document that we do have, we make sure that it is in the best light for us and our practice and our scope and our future so that we can evolve as a profession, which we have not done. We have stagnated and gone backwards in my mind. And so in 1928, they didn't envision all the things that, you know, could come forth. And so that's all I'm saying is to just keep it as broad as possible, allow us to grow.
Well, it also sounds to me, Sharon, that you might want to have a conversation with OCA and their legislative body to see if they want to open up that definition of physiotherapy within in the statutes. I mean, we're just dealing with a study guide. So
The chances of them going and opening it up in statute, I mean, I don't think we have to open it up. I think that, well, one, it comes to interpretation. And so if you look at the naturopathic language and what they can do within their practice came through very broad interpretation. We've tended to have very narrow interpretation at times that have boxed us into certain things. And so to go to the legislature and change that language, they're not going to do that. They're too busy trying to get us paid a mere $40 per adjustment, if that.
there's another definition that came through too, through I think a website called Law Insider. So if we want to include that in the list of possibles too, Mackenzie. And they actually define chiropractic physiotherapy, which is interesting.
Maybe you want to put all of them in there. Have multiple definitions. Or multiple citations that just allow it to very broad.
think if you use multiple, you better make sure they don't conflict in some way, shape, or form and
Exactly.
negate the entire purpose.
Nope, I understand.
Okay, so do we have thoughts on this? I just remember that we're trying to train people who really have no medical chiropractic anatomy type training most of the time to be instructed to do things under our care and our watch.
Yeah.
So I am all for making sure that we preserve our scope of practice. So like, I'm not, none of that, but I don't know that there's personally anything out there that's not going to fit into, I just feel that Samson's is a little, the verbiage, the wordage is outdated because we don't speak like that anymore. People have a 3rd grade reading level in general. We don't talk like that. So that would be very hard to understand, I think. Yeah, and I hear what you're saying, Sharon. There's nothing I feel like I'm lacking in my chiropractic practice that I, don't get to do because of a scope issue. So, I don't want to be an ND. I don't want to be a PT for that matter, but that's my personal. So I just want to, yes, people are going to be reading this, but let's keep in mind who the audience is that we're trying to train.
So this is Lori. I think the one I most understand of exactly what it means would be that last one, quite frankly.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, if I read that, like I understand that the Merriam-Webster as well, but the last definition, I can actually like envision what as a potential CA, what the doc is talking about when they say that, where I don't know. So those are my thoughts of being a person that doesn't have a medical background besides with you poor folks that have to learn, hear me learn.
I agree with
Valley?
Lori.
Yeah.
I would say the Samson definition, if we're trying to preserve the having openness with the scope, it is open to interpretation, but I think that leaves too much room for how we define the definition for physiotherapy. But the 3rd definition for chiropractic physiotherapy, for someone that has no medical experience, and if I wanted to learn, that is a really good definition, and I understand it, and I'm able to take that information and apply it to my practice, or at least what I'm learning. So under instruction.
Thank you. Sharon?
Under the chiropractic physiotherapy, where is electrotherapy?
Probably the other modes.
We could also add it if we wanted to.
I'd like to see it at least to what our statute is.
How's that look to everybody?
Yeah, more inclusive.
And does that cover the everything? I want to say fire, ice, and water. The old. I'm being facetious, but does that cover everything?
Does manual mean massage?
Yeah.
That's what I would think.
All forms of massage?
Yeah, you're doing it with your hands.
feel like it's open enough to not be limiting.
To not be what?
Not be limiting.
Oh,
You know, like manual
Yeah.
broad enough, but not gray area broad enough where it's awkward.
Right, and it's not like prescription is within a CA's scope of work, but it's in the definition of physiotherapy. So if we're including that, it's still the general definition without also saying just because this is the definition means it's automatically within the CA scope of work, which is what this study guide is for.
So it sounds like, Mackenzie, we can delete the Sampson paragraph. And it looks like we can delete the Merriam-Webster.
probably that top one too, yeah?
Oh yeah, and the top one too. And I would just change chiropractic physiotherapy to physiotherapy means.
See if that satisfies everybody.
I think that does it.
The last sentence on this page, it reads weird to me. If the CA has any doubts or questions about the treatment being instructed to give,
I would say about the instructed treatment, comma, ask.
there we go. Okay.
And I don't know that it matters, but the definition first paragraph uses or other modes, and then somewhere else we use the word modality, modalities. I don't know if we want to use the same or if it matters.
I think in that one, it's modes of care. So I don't know if you want to change it.
I like modes of care. It's broad. Modality sounds to me like a machine.
So then in the third paragraph, should we change that to modes of care rather than modality or modalities? Just use modes of care? If it's the same thing, I just want to be consistent in what we're referring to, with especially within the same section.
I don't have a problem with modes of care. Anybody have an opinion?
Yeah,
modes
I
of
think we just-
care is fine.
Yep.
I like that.
Okie dokie. Do we have any other areas to address?
I don't think so. This was the major one that got the most attention. And then my next question really just to which board members want to assist in the NBCE CA exam review? Because we're going to need to have kind of subject matter experts helping us rewrite some of the questions.
I would.
I'll do it.
Yeah, I
Who's-
can help
who's-
too.
Sorry, I asked it and then I
Michelle?
wasn't paying attention. So tell me who?
Michelle, Corey, and Karen.
Perfect. All right, and so then I'm assuming once we start both of these processes, we'll get this finalized with text and photos when we get the photos done. And then we can look at possibly in September, the training log and CA syllabus and getting them kind of correlated to the study guide.
Good.
That's awesome.
All right. It is 12:07. I think we grab some lunch and come back in exec. Yes?
Yep. What time you want to have us come back?
You think we could do 12:45? It's kind of a long list of stuff.
Yeah, I would say, let's say 12:30, assuming people come back by 12:40.
Okay.
Don't forget to read the thing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, gosh.
Yes,
Thank
thank
you.
you. Thank you, Mackenzie.
This is why.
Thank you for
well,
listening to me. You all
Thanks,
very
Sharon.
much.
Thank you,
Thanks.
Sharon.
Bye. Mhm,
This
Bye.
is one of the reasons why Mackenzie's here. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The Board of Chiropractic Examiners will now go into executive session pursuant to ORS 192.6602F, ORS 192.6602L, ORS 192.6602H, ORS 684.185, 676.175L, and 684.10010 concerning discipline, litigation, and exempt public records. Representatives of the news media and designated staff will be allowed to attend the executive session. All other members of the audience are asked to leave the room. Representatives of the news media are specifically directed not to report on any of the deliberations during the executive session except to state the general subject of the session as previously announced. No decision will be made in executive session. At the end of the executive session, we will return to open session and welcome the audience back into the room.
So 12:30
In exec.
in
In
exec.
Heather's email from the 17th is the link.
Right, Michelle. And thank you, Hari, for attending this morning.